We're looking at a technique for plantar fasciitis, or just general tightness through the plantar fascia. Legs up for me, please, and legs back down. So I refer to it as plantar fascia because it's not just the flexor muscles, tendons. Not around here, but so you can see, it's not just. We can say that's fine. You're all knackered, aren't you? So it's the plantar fascia we're looking at, because that really is just a continuation of the fascia that comes up from the calves and the hamstring and everywhere else up the chain. Have you got or previously had any problems with this foot, Andy?
No.
Excellent. Can I get you to shuffle back towards me a little bit? Your face won't fit in the hole anymore, but you'll see why. So keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. About another 6 inches. Didn't know you could do the worm. Okay, and stop. Perfect. The reason for that is we do need to be able to dorsiflex. Get a stretch on the calf, also to get that stretch. If you're familiar with something called the windlass mechanism, if you're not, worth a read at some point. All it talks about is how the big toe influences the strain at the insertion of the plantar fascia. And that's it. Basically, to stretch that, we need to stretch the big toe. So let's get some cups. The smaller surface area means we are going to be using smaller cups. So a couple of those. You big ones as well. So what can we do in the area? Well, at this point, hopefully we've got some ideas. We can be aware. Have you got tickly feet, Andy?
Well, I'm about to find that out then. Normally okay.
Bit of a twist, and it's going to come off, which can happen often with the feet. Try and avoid the actual insertion point there, the calcaneus. And feel a lot of bubble wrap, which is just that interstitial fluid. It's the flexor tendons, sort of the waste product there from muscular contraction. So if we do want to do something different, dynamic cupping is not an option. 2 pumps, I feel okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
And let's go with a smaller cup, only the 1 pump, because the decreased surface area means more relative pressure, and then we can go for a bit of a stretch. And what that means is...
Pop off.
Feels all right. It's quite helpful for treatment of plantar fasciitis because it means that we can be a bit selective about which portions of that we stretch. Is it going to stay? So what's happening there, in the same way as an STR, we're creating a lock. So hopefully we've reduced the amount of strain on the tendon at the insertion, and we're just stretching everything else up to the big toe. One more go. Stretching it, you can see the dome start to go down a little bit.
You've got the lips thing going on there as well.
Yeah, it looks a bit, doesn't it?
So that's clearly working incredibly well. So these kind of things happen in clinic. So let's just pop them on there. 1. God, help me.
Even the cooks have had enough.
Give me a freaking break. I really want to see plantar fascia.
We didn't want to see it anyway. So.
Yeah, I'm going to fully blame your feet.
Yeah, I've got plans for well, I had it, so I haven't got flat feet.
Let's see how this next one goes. We'll add a little bit more wax. No pressure, Andy. 1, 2.
Oh, yeah.
Can you feel it?
1,
That feels
2.
more secure. Yeah.
Maybe that was it. Lack of wax. Too much wax, too little wax, in effect. And then let's go with some chain. And what this does, even though we might not necessarily be able to see it, is we're thinking now more about the fascial trains, fascial chains, or the web. So we'll have that stretch there between the Achilles and the plantar fascia. Probably in the left.
Pinchy.
Where's it pinchy?
Oh, on back to left.
Is it too pinchy?
No, not too pinchy.
Okay, that one was 2 pumps. So let's reduce the pressure, go to 1 pump. Better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, good. So that, I mean, for me would be more of a static technique here. I'd love to do dynamic. I'd love to do cup and stretch. It's not going to happen. So you need to be diverse and think on your feet a little bit sometimes, and these things keep popping off like that.
But you would do it if it didn't pop off. You didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Could you also, just thinking about the change it right at the hamstring?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
thinking
Right,
where,
and then depending on where you've
where-
read, you know, you've got these anatomy trains or fascial trains or fascial chains. There is a book by Tom Myers called Anatomy Trains, and he outlines loads of different ways that muscles connect to each other through the fascia. And there's two main posterior chains. There's the posterior oblique sling, which is basically biceps femoris across into glute max, thoracolumbar fascia opposite lat.
Yeah.
And then you've got the deep longitudinal sling. This is really testing me. Where you've got, some say the perineals, some say the lateral calves, up into biceps femoris, across the sacrotuberous ligament, and then into the opposite side of rectus. Either way, you can have a play around with this. You might do it all the way up the leg. You might even, you've just read this in a book, for instance, you might then venture out and do a cross onto the right hand side. You can have a little play around, as long as there's a bit of justification for why you've done it. As said before, I would love to do a bit of big toe, a bit of hallux extension. It's going to come off, I think, is it? And the reason being is that it might be we need to stretch those flexor tendons, but in a case of acute plantar fasciitis, it's going to be painful there. So it takes some of the load off that insertion point. Take those off, you've got options for calves there as well. And you can go off into lateral and medial, but we can then push that out and give us a static STR. Want a bit more soleus involvement? It's the same rules as general treatment, flex the knee.
Ooh, feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might want to use something a bit more dynamic as well, you might not. But you've got options for that. And while we're showing you, I might as well do it. We've got that position there, which I like to use, because we can do a combination of dynamic cupping and STR. It's actually moving quite well over those bumps. Feel okay?
Yeah.
Can be a bit intense, just try and get as much coverage over the muscle as you possibly can. Ooh. Is that a good or?
Oh.